Finally got bow to level 20, and it was definitely a better experience than what I had with the musket, because with the musket I was really having a hard time even enjoying it. But with bow, it has a lot more utility in here and is a lot more fun to actually play versus the musket. So I was going to be showing my build here. I messed around with all the abilities, and these are the 3 that I spent the most time with, and this is as a solo PvE player for the most part. Poison shot is really good for AoEing, especially if you get overrun by a bunch of mobs. You can throw it on the ground, or you could even shoot it directly at the target to just release this smoke cloud to get a nice damage over time. On top of that, rain of arrows does its own damage over time with this passive underneath it, the barb arrows. So it deals bleeding damage. So you can stack that with the poison shot to get some really nice damage over time. Getting all the passives in poison shot are really worth it. So like the poison shot, poison does 12% more damage per second for 20 seconds. That's good. And then this one, if you directly hit a target with the poison shot, it deals more damage. This is getting nerfed in the new patch. So in the PTR by like, I think it's like 50%. So it still does really good damage regardless. So it's not a big deal. I definitely still think it's worth getting the direct hit. But for the most part, when I use poison shot, I just shoot it at the ground, especially when I have like a bunch of targets running at me. I'd rather just them all get poisoned by running into it. So I prefer to use it that way. Then for the last ability, I use rapid shot. The thing I really love about this is that what I like to do is I like to dodge first, just so I can get the damage bonus, because there is a passive here. You see this one. After you dodge, you deal 20% more damage for 5 seconds. So I usually open by doing a dodge just so I can get the 20% bonus. Then I hit rapid shot to do like a crazy amount of damage. So it definitely makes it really worth it, especially if you're hitting a target that's like, let's say an elite mob, for example. It makes it worth it so that you can get this passive underneath it, that if you hit all 3 arrows with this, with the same target, you'll lower the cooldown by half. So that's really good. The only downside with it is that, of course, if you're fighting like a regular mob, or if you're fighting something that's about to die, if the 3rd shot hits and it kills the target, it's not gonna trigger this rapid accuracy thing. So that's the only sad part about it, and I feel like that needs a buff. That way it works more properly, because if I hit all 3 arrows, it should lower the cooldown regardless. And then the final one right here, rapid shot deals 25% extra damage on the 3rd shot. So that's the major reason why the last one usually does the biggest burst of damage and could potentially kill the target, you know. So like I feel like it kind of contradicts, you know, the passive before it. That's the abilities out of the way. With the actual passives on the skirmisher line, I already talked about evasive tactics. This is definitely worth it. I dodge consistently, so what I would do is I'll just constantly, like, I'll dodge before I start even doing light or even heavy attacks. And of course, before I actually cast my abilities, that way I can get the most out of it. So that 20% extra damage is nice. I got battle precision. Debuff and damage over time durations last 20% longer. This is really nice, especially since 2 of the abilities that I'm using are damage over time abilities. So this definitely works a lot. And then of course, Mark, right next to it, deals 10% damage to foes that are suffering from debuff. The bleeding and also the poison cloud does count as debuffs. So 10% more damage when you're hitting them with light attacks and heavy attacks is really nice. On the right side, I went with a lot of passives on this one. I hit the first 2 here, so long range, deal 20% more damage to foes that are at least 10 meters away from you. You're going to be spending a lot of time sniping with the bow, so it definitely makes it worth it to get something like this. Aim true is another really nice one. Heavy attacks fly faster and deal 30% more damage. Unbreakable focus, receive 10% less damage while aiming. You're going to spend most of your time aiming down the sight, so this definitely helps out if the mob gets to you. If you're really good with your dodging, then you won't ever get hit. But this is a really nice little fallback for, you know, if you start to take a little bit of damage, you won't take as much. Finishing shot. If your target is below 50% health, you deal 20% more damage. So that's already stacking on top of like the dodge roll one and the one with the debuff too, that 10%. So that's really, really good to do even more damage to mobs that are lower than 50% health. Arrow range, this increases the arrow distance before it starts gravity. So basically like it will travel farther. So if you really want to snipe targets from like a million miles away and pretend like you're playing Skyrim, you know, doing that stuff, then you could totally do it, and it's really nice. Bullseye, bow shots, critical chance increased by 10%. That's a given. Just go ahead and pick it up. It's good. And then Hawkeye is really excellent. When you land headshots, you heal for 10% of the damage done. Aiming for the head is definitely important in this build, especially since this last ability, Concussion. When you land headshots, you deal 20% more damage and a 50% chance to get your arrow back. So that's pretty neat. Getting the arrow back just doesn't happen often enough for it to matter, but the 20% more damage is important. So aiming for the head is definitely going to be a really good thing, especially since it heals you for hitting them in the head. So it's really, really worth it to get those shots, and it's also very satisfying to get those headshots. Anyway, but that's the build there. As far as my attributes, I went into dex up to 250. And the main reason why I wanted to get that is because of the 10% bonus critical hit damage on stun and slow targets. If you're using musket on your off bar, it makes it really nice because you could totally do like throw the traps on the ground and do all that to get them rooted so you can get that 10% critical hit damage. It actually makes it worth it. And of course, the damage is also worth it, so it's nice to go into dex. I went with intelligence up to this point because I wanted the 10% critical hit damage. So that's the only reason why I did it. And then I put the rest into focus because I like using life staff on my off bar, especially for survivability. So that's like the main reason. So I'm not really truly taking full advantage of this rooted 10% critical hit thing unless I like swap over and start using musket instead. So you could technically just get rid of the focus completely and never use that and then pump it more into something else. So if you want to pump it all into dex and get it as high as possible, because you could probably get it to 300 easily with that, you can go ahead and do that. Anyway, I'm glad I'm finished leveling bow. I didn't really enjoy it that much, mainly because of the whole having to buy ammo thing and having to deal with the whole like encumbrance with that, especially if you start buying like thousands of ammo and you're storing it in there because you don't want to go back to town every 2 seconds to go get more ammo. It makes it really annoying to deal with, and then also like wasting so much weight on just ammo alone is really annoying, and I wish that they would buff that and make it so that this can hold maybe 1,000 or even 2,000. That way, you know, we don't have to take so many trips and not have to worry about being over encumbered all the time. But anyways, that's the bow. Thanks for watching, guys. Leave a thumbs up if you liked the video, thumbs down if you didn't, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.